Good evening. It was time to call our meeting order for our regular Board Mayor and Alderman meeting on Monday, February the 23rd. If you would, let's stand. We'll have the invocation by Reverend Ernie Johnson.
If I may, Mayor and Alderman, you have a chaplain corps that truly sees this as an honor and a way that we can serve the city of Tullahoma. And we really appreciate the opportunity to open the meeting with prayer, invoking God's blessing on our city. So thank you for using your chaplain corps, city, fire, and police, and the hospital. We appreciate all, and please use us. Please get us involved. Let's pray. Father God, we do thank you for who you are, creator of all things, bringing us together in this room for a purpose of the city of Tullahoma, its citizens, and the duties and the job and the accomplishments that have to be made. We ask for wisdom. We ask for discernment in making decisions and planning for this great city. I ask a blessing upon all here and all the citizens of Tullahoma. Your will be done. Blessings will abound. Lives will improve. And your love will just spread throughout the city. Unite us, unite us, unite us for the purpose of living together. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start off our meeting with some commendations, proclamations, and awards. Tonight we've got our Tullahoma Honorary Alderman with us this evening, and Taliana Aguilar, I'd say that close enough to right, and Jocelyn Garcia.
Oh, they have the wrong.
Oh, that's the right one? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought we had the wrong ones. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Let me get one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself in high school.
Good evening. I'm Taliana Aguilar, and I am a senior in high school. I do Mayor's Youth Council. I am also a part of the National Guard, and I'm a part of the Tullahoma High School Band.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jocelyn Garcia. I'm a senior at the high school, and I'm a part of various clubs and organizations such as FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America. I'm a part of the Student Council Leadership Program, and I am president of the Arte Latino Club. I am a part of DECA, and also a member of the Mayor's Youth Council program. We're so happy to have y'all invited us tonight, and so happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Our next item is a
Mr.
special
Mayor,
presentation. Yes,
I'd like to say one more thing. She's very modest. She also has a beautiful voice and sings in the choir at St. Paul Catholic Church. And I try to sing not too loudly so she can out-sing me, okay?
Thanks for that additional praise. Our next item, special presentation by the City of Tullahoma and Parks and Recreation Department. Mr. Craft.
Well, good evening. I'm JP, the Parks and Recreation Director. I usually stand before you to ask for money or get you to authorize a purchase. Tonight I'm going to share some good news with you. I get to tell you about something exciting happening in our community. Over the years, I've heard complaints and seen comments on Facebook that there's nothing for families to do in Tullahoma. I may have a solution, maybe just at least an alternative. For about a year and a half, Mr. Quick, Jeff Dameron, and I have been working to bring a collegiate summer baseball league to Tullahoma. Tonight, I'd like to announce that the Players League, through the newly formed Volunteer State League, is going to do just that. Tullahoma will be the first team in a new league. As other teams come online, it is sure to build excitement and Tullahoma and the surrounding area will have a new team to pull for. This new team will add another piece to the sports tourism of Parks and Recreation. I'd like to introduce Brian Morris, the head coach of the Tullahoma High School Wildcat baseball team, to make this exciting announcement.
Thank you, JP. Well, as he said, I am currently the high school baseball coach here in Tullahoma. That's not why I'm here, obviously. We are here to announce the new team and to unveil the name. Our new team is going to be named the Tullahoma Test Pilots and contributing to the airport and the Air Force Base. Is that correct? I just wanted to step up and say how excited I am, and I think this is going to be a fantastic thing for our community. As most of you know, baseball has a rich history here in Tullahoma. We've had plenty of people go on and play professional baseball, 3 state titles from the high school level. Started with Coach Mathis there. He's been a pioneer of that forefront. Our community has always supported the game the right way. And all these guys have gone and done great things, but there's been talented people that go through Tullahoma year in and year out that go on and play college baseball and other college sports that sometimes get overlooked because they're gone and they're not in Tullahoma anymore. I think this league will give us an opportunity to continue to recognize those young men that specifically play baseball. I'm excited that I get to have an opportunity to coach them again because they've come through the system the last 4 or 5 years. Luckily, I can say we got 5 or 6 of them already committed to play with us, and that gives them an opportunity to play in front of their families and their friends again while they continue their collegiate careers and some of them hopefully beyond. I say this every time I speak. I can pitch in front of 50,000 people, but I am shaking in my shoes right now. I want to say that I am extremely grateful for all the people that had a hand in starting this up. Mr. Quick, JP, and Jeff, he's not here. I think this is going to be really good for the community. I'm very excited, and hopefully when the season gets started in June, you'll come and cheer on the Test Pilots.
Josh is going to be the general manager of the team, and Brian's going to be the head coach of the team. This has one of the logos. It is the Tullahoma T, but it's like a jet. There's another logo that's also on your ball that we passed out. And then Mr. Quick, I think we have.
Yeah, if you'll come on up here, we got a little something for you. #1 draft pick.
That's well behind us.
Oh, it has.
He's hurting already.
Wait a minute, there's one.
For you.
Pretty.
Where do you want us for the picture?
Right over in front of the flag. Where? Right over in front of the flag. Right.
Oh. We've never been on draft day like you.
Yeah, we've never been on
I'm gonna tell us how that works.
I'm a little worried about your #1 and #2 draft pick.
Let me get one more. 1, 2, 3. Perfect, thank you.
Right.
It's for a laundry.
Yeah.
It's for equipment management.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We greatly appreciate Tullahoma being a part of this. Yeah, absolutely. I would have thought Brian could teach some.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks for that presentation. That's exciting. Our next moment in the agenda is comments from citizens, and we have a list of folks who signed up. We'll start there with Alex Engler. Is Mr. Engler present? Yeah. Yes, sir. Come ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Alderman, and Mr. Quick, and all of you. I'm an aircraft owner in Tullahoma, and at the meeting on the 9th, it was unanimously passed a resolution that we needed to increase the pool of candidates for the board in the future. And that passed unanimously. Later on, we added to that an amendment. I believe it was Dr. Bart that brought it up. And the amendment included aircraft owners, pilots, people that have a stake at the airport that would have the best interest of the airport when it comes to representing us all at the board. And I didn't see that at the on the agenda for this meeting. I don't know if you included it. I saw you there at the meeting, Alderman Byrd. And I'm wondering if you all would consider including more of us with a lot of years of experience, with a big interest in the success of the airport. And I think you'll all be grateful if you included some more candidates that are qualified and that don't just want to wear a badge. We want the success of the airport. Anyway, that's what I like to see happen.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Compton, you're here for the Airport Authority appointment. We'll hold you until we get that item, if it's okay with you, and then you can come forward. Kevin Carpenter. Did I get it right? Is there a carpenter in the room?
He didn't mean to sign that.
Okay, so just making sure. Jace Pearson.
I thought it was the finance.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's for public comment. Okay, no problem.
Door prizes.
Yeah. No door prizes, Jace.
They thought it was an attendee sign.
Mitch Davis. Mitch is here.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Alderman, and everybody here. Of course, you know I'm probably here to talk about the airport one more time. I looked at the agenda and just wanted to say thank you for getting some of the things on there that needed to be on there. We do need some more board members out there that'll be proactive and to help prevent having another incident, spill, whatever comes up. I think by being proactive, having good protocol, having good SOP in place is something that the airport really needs. In addition to a steering committee, which has been discussed in the past, I think if we bring all of these things together, including, making some changes with the board, we can mitigate having any more expensive incidents. We get more community involvement with the airport. And I think it's a home run across the board. Opening up to the urban growth area to allow more of us that kind of live on the outskirts of the area to come in and participate as board members, committee members, et cetera. I think it's going to help out a lot. What do we have invested in the airport? Yes, we have equipment out there. We've got hangars out there. We've got friends out there. We've got community. We've got picnic tables. We've got planes that people come out with their kids and never seen an airplane before. We pick them up on there on the wing and let them see a real airplane. That's just a little part of what we do. A lot of people a lot of the community has addressed, not a lot, folks in the community have addressed it as a club of some type. It really isn't a club. The thing we have in common is we love general aviation and everything about it, and we want it to be positive for the community. As you know, this community's been built on aviation, a lot of it. So thank you for Mr. Byrd for getting that on the agenda, adding a board position, and thank you for possibly opening up to that urban area so we could get more folks on there. I think you'll see nothing but good out of it, and again, at no cost to the city. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, that's all the folks that signed up. Is there anyone else that would like to make a public comment this time? All right, with that, we'll move on. Our next item is approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda? Sorry, I'm looking. Okay, yeah, we have motion second, motion from Alderman Byrd, second by Alderman McGee. Any discussion?
I'd like to request a couple of changes.
What's your first change you would like to request?
The first change is the item number 9, ordinance 1681. That's an item that I asked to be put on there, and Mr. Worsham and I, we failed to connect on a few times, and I don't think it's quite ready yet. So I'd like to remove that and put it on for a later date when we have a chance to work on it together.
You want to make a motion to remove it?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to remove
Item.
item number 9, ordinance 1681.
Do we have a second on that motion?
Second.
Second.
All right, so it's motion and a second to remove that item. Unless there's any discussion, let's vote on that one. Oh, I'm not signed in. I was like, why? That motion carries 6-0. What's your second item?
I'd like to, on item number 13 is another item I asked to be put on there, and I inadvertently forgot to add something to it, and I'd like to add that just for clarity. And that is, as part of that item, I would like a report from the city administrator on the progress of the airport and what's happened, what's been happening with the work on the airport.
That sounds like a little bit more than what you had there before.
It's right on in line with the other item.
So how long is this report going to take?
I have no idea.
Mr. Quick, can you give us any insight as to the depth of this report?
It's thorough.
So we've been getting in the habit of bringing things like this at the last second. We've had 2 weeks since the last meeting to bring something like this. If it's going to be a longer item, it's the sort of thing that would have been much better served in a study session where we could have other people here to interact with that. I would recommend we do not add this to the agenda. Put it for a study session later.
I think it's timely, and I would like to hear the report.
Do we have a second on that?
Second it.
All right. Any other comments or discussion? All right, let's vote.
I would like to
sorry.
make a quick comment there. Without having adequate notice for this, it doesn't give TAA members the opportunity to come for the report on the airport that they help run. So I think that having their input on that might be a good thing also.
This is a report from Mr. Quick to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
About the airport
Right.
that TAA is over.
Why is this so critical? It has to be heard right now, not at a study session later.
Are we
We can
discussing,
engage.
or do we just need to vote on it?
I think we need to, I mean, it's timely. I mean, there's people, and I think it's time to hear the report.
It might be a good idea for the citizens to hear it, other than just us.
Any other comments? Let's vote. That motion carries 4-2. So that's added to the agenda. Any other changes to the agenda? If not, let's vote on approval of the agenda as a whole. And that motion carries 6-0. So carrying on in our agenda, reports from Alderman. We'll start with Alderman Glick.
I have no report tonight.
Coach Mathis?
I have no report tonight.
Alderman McGee?
I just have a few things to report. I did attend the Planning Commission meeting and was reappointed as the city liaison. I did attend the school board meeting, and I've also been supporting the Tullahoma High School boys and girls basketball team as they continue to play in the tournament, and to Parks and Rec and to Administrator Quick. Thank you all for this baseball league, coming from a family who loves baseball. This is going to be good for Tullahoma, so thank you so much.
Alderman Wilson?
Thanks, Mayor. No report this evening.
Alderman Byrd?
Yes, I did attend the Airport Authority meeting. There is an item later on in the agenda that came from that meeting, and I'm happy to talk about it once we get to it. At the tree board meeting, we had a presentation from the University of Tennessee Chattanooga's Center for Applied Geospatial Data Science on Tullahoma's community heat risk assessment. That is something that I'll also be happy to talk about once we get to the comprehensive plan. At the Arts Council, there were more discussions that were held about the upcoming Collaborative Arbor Day the Art of Trees event on April 23rd, and that'll be at the Tullahoma Fine Arts Center. And also a discussion on what the Arts Council can do to further celebrate America's 250th this year. Also, congratulations to Peyton Fritz for winning the Tennessee Art Education Association State of Tennessee Art Review and Showcase Art Contest. Her art will be on display at the Tennessee State Museum through May.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Report from the mayor, just one item I'll mention briefly is we did have a visit in Tullahoma last Friday from Congressman John Rose. A number of us city leaders met with Congressman Rose, who was previously our congressman a few years back, has continued to be an avid supporter of AEDC and all things in this area, and is also running for governor. I'm sure that had a little bit to do with the visit, but we had a really good visit with Congressman Rose. Report from city administrator.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you to all those that reached out. I was not here last board meeting. I was able to see the birth of my grandson and enjoy that time away. So I want to say thank you for those that have reached out and given me congratulations. We passed that on to our daughter and son-in-law. So healthy baby boy. We're very happy. Tullahoma Fire Department recently hired 4 new recruits from their latest candidate pool. Continue to see an awful lot of people apply, which is always a good thing. And also, one of the things that's really exciting is we are promoting 2 of our firemen to engineer, Riley Rackley and Brett Smith, so I want to congratulate them. They've been with us a little bit over a year, and I want to also say thank you to Chief Pearson. As we've talked about finding those new recruits, and then making sure that they fit, they feel like they're at home, and then they're growing. And obviously, you and your captains are doing an excellent job of getting those men prepared to take the next step. So for them to reach that level within a year of being there says an awful lot about them, but also says an awful lot about you and the program that you have there. So I want to say thank you for that. Tennessee Oncology and NHC, if you drive by, you'll see that there's a continuing construction there. That is well on track. And then Town Suites by Marriott over by the Holiday Inn. We have all been anxiously awaiting for that to open. According to Nick Kimbrough, we think mid-April may be the time that those will open. We're looking forward to that. In fact, Nick and I think we're going to go do a tour of that sometime later this week, so looking forward to that. Tonight, we have Brian Dickey with us. Eric Pierce is away this week, and so Brian Dickey is with us. Brian joined us from Shelbyville. He has 8 years of experience in public works. A lot of what his background has been is stormwater compliance and construction. He is from Ohio. He's an Ohio State fan. I don't know how that happened. We're going to work to see if we can vet that better next time. But here's a fun fact that he gave me. His daughter is expecting triplets. So, and that's going to be in late March or early April. So congratulations, a way to one-up your boss there. I thought I'm running with 1, you're getting to throw out 3, so good for you. And then last, I want to speak about the test pilots. This is not some fly-by-night organization. The Players League has, their original league is in North Carolina, and I believe it started about 5-6 years ago. They have 24 teams in their league, and what they've been able to do, and they're in cities very similar to ours, in fact, smaller than ours, but what they've been able to do as far as generating community excitement, the merchandising that they do, all of the giveaways, they really have done a good job in those 24 cities of embedding themselves in the community. And I think that is definitely going to happen for Tullahoma. I remember when we got the phone call, and what stood out to them, what made Tullahoma the place they wanted to be is they knew about our baseball heritage. They knew about our pipeline to college and pros. It was Grider Stadium, Mathis Field. That is what they said drew them to us. They liked that structure, and again, that's a Tullahoma asset. They liked that structure and said it is ideal for what they're looking for. As JP and Jeff and I have kind of looked at the other stadiums where they are playing right now, I think we're going to be definitely going to be the crown in Tennessee, but of all of their stadiums, I think that we're going to be there. We are not allowed to tell you who the other teams are. They're going to be announced over the course of the next several weeks. But when you hear the names, you're going to get excited, especially about 2 of them, because they're rivals of ours anyway in some respects. So I'm very anxious, very looking forward to it. Again, they're very community oriented. And for those that are wondering, what kind of players are we talking about? If you've ever been a parent of a baseball player, you know about travel ball, right? In the summertime. This is travel ball, quote unquote, for college athletes. When college athletes, or I'm sorry, when college baseball players, their season ends in June or May, they still have to go play college ball somewhere. And so we're very familiar with the Appalachian League, the Cape Cod leagues. This is in that same realm. So what they're going to be looking to do is to attract some of our local talent, and you know we have quite a few that are playing college baseball, but also look to reach out to Huntsville area, to Chattanooga area, to Middle Tennessee area, and try to bring in some of those Paul players as well. So it's not just a team of local players. It's going to be some high caliber, high quality baseball. So again, we're excited about that. We're looking forward to more press announcements and press releases coming out soon, and we're just hoping that you'll take the time to go out there and catch a ball game this summer. That's my report.
Thank you. Next item is the consent agendas. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? We have a motion and a second already. Unless there's any discussion, let's vote on that. Consent agenda carries 6-0. Unfinished business. So we have ordinance number 1675, an ordinance to adopt the 2045 comprehensive plan for passage on second and final reading. Do we have a motion to approve that? We have a motion from Alderman Byrd. Do we have a second? Second from Alderman McGee. Any discussion on this one? Mr. Byrd, did you had the motion? I think you said you also had a comment to make about the, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'd like to
Luthy.
wait until Mr.
Yeah.
Luthy speaks.
Go ahead, Mr. Luthy.
So when we had our first reading, a couple of the aldermen had mentioned that they had some recommendations they would like to send to the Planning Commission regarding modifications to the comprehensive plan. One that I received was from Alderman Byrd and the Tree Board. As he mentioned earlier, the University of Tennessee Chattanooga did a heat map index of the city, which showed optimal areas where shade trees should be planted. It was requested by the Tree Board to have the map that was created for them, as well as some information regarding that map, included in the section of the comprehensive plan that addressed trees. I brought that item before the Planning Commission last Monday. Planning Commission reviewed that recommendation and voted in favor of including it. With that being said, I would like to talk to the Tree Board and Lyle to make sure that when we do include that map in there, it is accurately represented and the information that they want is correctly addressed in the comprehensive plan, as it is a product of their board. So when the item is approved at this meeting, it will be under the condition that the approved modification that was voted on at the last Planning Commission meeting is put into effect. Between the last meeting and today, I haven't had time to get that implemented the way the board would like. I haven't met with them yet. So I'm just asking to make sure to keep that in mind, that the final comprehensive plan that we do receive is pending one modification for the inclusion of that heat map.
I believe Alderman Toma also sent you and copied me a couple of comments that were just kind of general comments about, you know, we put some emphasis on downtown, but not some of the areas of growth. And I didn't know if there's, we obviously, it was after we had already voted on the Planning Commission, and if you wanted to mention those or not.
Yeah, I had received those comments, but it was after our Planning Commission meeting had already happened. So I didn't have time to call the Planning Commission back in meeting before this meeting today.
They were just kind of general comments. They weren't
correct. They were
specific
some
ask.
general comments. I do have them saved, and they will be presented to the Planning Commission at the next Planning Commission meeting. But unfortunately, I did not have time to call a special meeting at the Planning Commission before this meeting.
Mr. Byrd?
Yes, I just wanted to speak on that heat map a little bit. This project was fully funded by the Tennessee Department of Forestry, so it didn't cost Tullahoma anything to have this study done. In our presentation, we were shown how the data was analyzed to create the heat map that showed specific census blocks that tree planting would be more beneficial. It took into account high age group, low age group, whether or not there is car ownership, things like that to recommend where in the city to plant trees. So I just wanted to thank Mr. Luthy and the Planning Commission for including that in the comprehensive plan.
Interesting. Alderman Glick.
Yeah, I'd like to postpone acting on this item tonight. I don't really think that we are going about it in the proper way. The law about adopting a comprehensive plan is TCA. Let me see here. TCA 13304, and it says that on the amendments that we ask the planning commission make after it comes to the board of mayor and aldermen, and then we make it, it's the amendments are supposed to be from the legislative body, not from individual members. So I think the way that it should be handled is that kind of the way we did it early on a few years ago, that we would have a meeting, and I don't know if we're prepared to do that tonight or kick it down the road to the next meeting where everybody could be prepared for it, but that we, each alderman, like Alderman Byrd would bring up the heat map, and I'm fine with that. And then we'd vote on it to add, and then each alderman could bring up an item that they would like to add to the plan, and then this board would vote on it. And if it passes this board, then it's suggested to the planning commission. If it doesn't pass this board, then it doesn't even go to the planning commission. So I think that's the proper way to do it. I think the suggestions from the board to the planning commission are supposed to be from, it says in here, from the legislative body. That would be after we voted on it, and then we send it as a whole. And those items then, after we voted on them and we discussed them, they carry more weight when it gets to the planning commission for them to add it to the plan. So my suggestion is, is to postpone voting on this second reading of this tonight, bring it back to the next meeting to where we could have a discussion and each alderman could be prepared to make changes to the plan, and then we vote on each one of those changes, and then as a whole send that back to the planning commission. And I think we should be able to have it done in time, because that's before our next board meeting is before the next planning commission. So it would still go back to the planning commission at that meeting, then come back to us again to our next meeting after that.
Do we have a second on that motion?
I second it.
Yeah, it was a motion to postpone. Will the planning commission vote again if this board passes this tonight?
What do you mean?
If
I'm
the
sorry?
board,
What do you mean?
Well, he said that it would come back to the board to vote, but if we pass it tonight, there's not any.
no,
it's
that's
complete.
that's what I was saying. If we pass it tonight,
Okay.
it doesn't go. That's why I think we need to postpone it so we have a chance to make our amendments as a whole, as this legislative body, to send the planning commission.
So for the planning commission, any citizen of any type can send recommendations to planning commission on the strategic plan, correct?
A citizen can send a recommendation for modification on any ordinance recorded at the city of Tullahoma.
But we're saying that an alderman can't send a recommendation?
No, they can, but it doesn't carry any more weight than any item from any citizen.
The motion was adopted unanimously, so what more weight would there need to be?
Well, in the last time that we did this with the 2011 plan, I believe, revision. So the planning commission, it forwards it to the BOMA, and then as the BOMA, we either pass it through, or if we together have revisions that we want to make to it, then because it actually is sitting right here, so it doesn't make any sense that people would just be, that we would individually be emailing the planning commission, because it sits with us right now. So we would send it back to them with our recommendations of what we want, that we all agree on, and then they would agree or not, and then send it back to us to where we would vote on it as a whole. Right now, it sits with us, and we really shouldn't be piecemealing stuff into it individually. I mean, it sits with us at this board at this point, and we have to either send it back with our recommendations
Well,
as to how it should be handled.
Again, I think any individual alderman could make his own recommendation if he wanted to, if he felt strongly about something. But I guess my bigger question here is, do we have some modifications we need to make?
I have some suggestions. I have like 3 suggestions that I would like to make, and there might be other aldermen that do. But then it would also, along with that, it would give that public discourse. It would have the public be able to hear what the Board of Mayor and Aldermen had to say about the plan and what we wanted to see added to it. Whether it passed or failed, at least it would be on the public record.
All right. Any other comments? So if we vote to postpone, this will postpone this until the following meeting. All right. Let's vote. Motion carries 4-2. That brings us to new business. Number 4, ordinance number 1676, an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Tullahoma to rezone a parcel located at 401 Lamont Street from low-density residential R1 to medium-density residential R2 for passage on the first of 2 readings. Do we have a motion? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this one? Mr. Luther, you want to make any comments about it?
Yeah. This parcel is one of 3 parcels owned by the applicant. One of the applicant's parcels is zoned R2. The other 2 of his parcels are zoned R1. The applicant is seeking to rezone this parcel, 401 Lamont, as well as a later parcel that you will see on 0 Tool Street. Both of these parcels already have established right-of-way running along their length. One of those is Lamont Street. The other one is Tool Street. Now, these right-of-ways are undeveloped. However, if the parcel were to be developed, that right-of-way is already established and dedicated to the city. Now, it would be on the applicant to improve that right-of-way, or the developer to improve that right-of-way. But it is already there and connects to our existing street network.
Any other comments or questions?
I have some comments. So the parcel, this is the parcel here?
Yes, ma'am.
Because it appears to me that it actually is abutted by agricultural, the agricultural zoning, and R1, is that correct?
Correct.
So and doesn't the future land map designate it as low density?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what my concerns are, it's designated as low density, and it actually is abutted on agricultural zoning and is R1, which is low density. And I guess, right now, we have, my concern is once this board rezones things, it's out of our hands then. The growth that happens as a result of our rezone, we have no control over. It is always going to stay with the planning commission then. And it looks like in the packet that the applicant said that, there was no, really, that it was something that he wasn't going to do anything to, that it was possibly for a future flexibility. Is that correct? And I guess, right now, my opinion is, we have a water crisis in our area right now. We have a $740,000 fuel spill that we're paying for. There's potholes in the roads. We have crowded schools. And, my opinion is, I would urge the applicant to come back after they have a definite plan. Just right now, what's around it is agricultural and it's R1. So to move it to R2 just seems right now, I just think that we need to really tread lightly. with the rezones, considering everything that's going on with the city, with that we have going on right now with the water structural issues, water issues. So I would urge this board to consider that.
Mr. Luthi, do we know what's intended to be built here?
So, to that point, I would like to advise that when we are reviewing rezoning applications, we're instructed in our zoning ordinance, as well as our subdivision regulations, to look at the maximum development potential of that parcel. The applicant could put any information they want in their proposed use. That's not legally binding. Once that property is rezoned, they can develop it to its fullest potential. We are actually instructed, as reviewing these parcels, to disregard the applicant's stated intent and to actually look at the full extent of the development potential. As once this property is rezoned, or any property is rezoned, that development becomes by right. So while the applicant does state they don't intend to do anything at this time, that statement is merely that, a statement. It's not legally binding or an approved plan. So you know, we could see anything that would be permissible under the R2 zone. Now, that disclaimer is there. It has to be permitted by right. But once it is approved, our abilities to regulate what is done with that property stops at the zoning that we designated. We're not able to regulate it based on what they state they intend to do at the time of rezoning.
So right now, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, right now, we have a lot of high density developments that are happening right now. And, you know, if we were in a situation right now where, you know, we didn't have all these other issues with the city, I would say, you know, sure, possibly, but just with the fact that right now, you know, if you look at the agricultural part that surrounds most of the property, you know, going from R1, which is what it currently is, which is low density housing, straight to R2 is just, you know, and R2, so what is the maximum amount of things that could be built on that property?
So the actual difference between R1 and R2 is, I don't want to say negligible, but it's more slight of an increase than from R2 to R3. R2, the main difference is that it accommodates duplexes and townhomes. R1 is limited to single-family dwellings only. R2 does accommodate those alternate housing structures. However, in the R2 zone, a single-family dwelling is required to have a 10,000 square foot lot, while a duplex is required to have a 20,000 square foot lot. So while it does permit the two-family dwelling, the actual density that you're going to get will be much of the same, as you need twice as large of a lot for the duplex. The main attraction to the R2 is that it is a slightly smaller lot. It goes from 12,000 to 10,000 square feet. The lot width is also slightly smaller, which allows for a narrower lot. It's not by much. I believe it's from 100 feet to 75 feet, but I have to double check. But the difference is not as great as going from, say, R1 to R3, but it is still an increase, and it does permit other types of housing that is not currently permitted in R1.
So I want to make a comment about the water. So I was sitting next to Alan Potter on Friday, as we were meeting with Congressman Rose, and he reiterated very strongly that we have no water shortage in the city of Tullahoma. The water outage was due to a break in lines that was a repair issue and ran our tanks down. But we don't have any issue with the water supply in the city of Tullahoma, and TUA would beg to differ with you on that. We have a need for some increase in housing and smaller size housing in this city. We have less of that than most cities around us, and we have a high population of workers working retail and education and healthcare that need places to live. This is not abutting against any nice R1 that's the kind of complaint we normally hear. The Planning Commission looked at this and no one opposed it, and I would recommend approval. Any other comments from anyone?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. If we voted against this tonight, does that stop him from at any point to reapply to get rezoned in the future?
The applicant can reapply. They will have to file a new application, go back to the planning commission to seek recommendation from the planning commission, and then go back before this board. But seeking an amendment to any ordinance, the zoning map being one of those ordinances, is a right that all of our citizens have, and they can exercise that at any time.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because, like he said, he has no plans at this time to develop it. And I just, like Cernobia mentioned at the last meeting, a lot of times it seems like maybe we just jump ahead and do things too quick. If there's no plans to develop it at this time, that maybe it might be better if when it came to the time when he was going to develop, he came back to this board to get it rezoned. And then we would know better at that time what infrastructure we had in place and whether we were going to be able to support the new development or not. Right now, I think since there are no plans, I'm going to just have to vote to keep it R1.
Any other comments?
I do just have some comments. I mean, right now, we actually have multiple subdivisions that are happening. There's 90 lots in one. There's apartments that on Cedar Lane that are just now being finished. There's multiple high-density complexes on both sides of the road of Kings Lane. And, you know, we really, you know, anything that, once we rezone this again, it's out of our hands. And so, you know, then it can be used at the property's highest and best potential. So I'm just like to try to just be responsible with how I think about, you know, do we have infrastructure in place, say that everybody that goes out and decides to build at the land's highest and best potential all throughout town with everything that we have put through already. And right now, it seems the applicant doesn't have any immediate intention to do anything on the property. So I would just say tread caution with us.
I just have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Like Mayor Seaborn said, you know, there are kids, well, young adults who need somewhere to live, and that's affordable for them to live. Not all of the subdivisions that's being built will be in their budget right away. And when I said that we do things in a hurry or we need to stop and think, that was pertaining to paying for the spill at the airport, because that was something that we needed to do, so we wouldn't get in any more legal problems. But I think I'm for this, changing it to R2, just for people that are starting out that, you know, need somewhere to live, regardless of what he decides to do with it. But if he does decide to have duplexes built on it, that's affordable, I'm in agreement to that.
Obviously, he has some thought that he wants to do it now for a reason, even though we may not fully understand his reasons. So.
And wouldn't that, in the comprehensive plan, wouldn't that, by the time this comes back, wouldn't that have some type of restriction or anything?
Our comprehensive plan does not cause restrictions, does it?
Okay.
No. Yeah. Y'all ready to vote? All right, let's vote. Motion fails for lack of majority, 3-3. Item number 5, ordinance number 1677, ordinance to amend the zoning map City of Tullahoma set forth in Tullahoma Municipal Code, rezone a parcel located at 700 South Washington Street from light industrial I-1 to general commercial C2 for passage on the first of 2 readings. Lucy.
Yeah. This item is before you to rezone the parcel that the Skills Development Center is located on. For years, the Skills Development Center has been used primarily as office space The building's interior is built out for offices. However, the parcel that it is located on is currently zoned I-1 industrial. R1 industrial zone only permits offices as an accessory use to a manufacturing or industrial operation ongoing on the same parcel. With that being said, the Skills Development Center would like to lease that building out. In order to lease that building, however, they'll need to have it rezoned, as it can be difficult to lease the building with legal nonconformity. They're looking to entertain an office client that will utilize it for offices. While it is currently legal nonconforming, if the building remains vacant for more than 1 year, it will lose its legal nonconformity. So even if they are able to find a tenant, if that tenant doesn't move in within a year, that legal nonconformity goes away entirely. At the meeting that this was originally discussed by the Planning Commission, there was a resident who lived across from this building who had another property on the other side of town. She remarked that her other property has been plagued with issues with an industrial operation nearby. She's had trucks in her front yard, almost up to her front door, and was in support of this property being rezoned from industrial to commercial. If this property is to be rezoned, it will allow the Skills Development Center to lease this out to a client, and for that client to use the building for its current purpose, which is offices.
Any questions on this one?
I have a comment. And so the C2 status, just so that all the citizens are aware, that could be a business or residential, correct?
No, ma'am. That C3 is the business
Oh,
or
that's right. Okay.
residential. This one is exclusively for commercial clients.
Gotcha, okay.
Any other questions? Let's vote. Passes 6-0. Brings us to item 6, ordinance number 1678, an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Tullahoma set forth in Tullahoma Municipal Code to rezone a parcel located at 1809 Old Estill Springs Road from light industrial I-1 to low density residential R1 for passage on the first of 2 readings. Go ahead.
This request before you is a request to rezone approximately 6.5 acres of the Tennessee Apparel property. The 6.5 acres that are looking to be rezoned are on the northeastern property boundary. It's currently forested land. There's no Tennessee Apparel activity going on there, and they don't ever intend for there to be any activity. There is a resident that lives just north of this property. He is looking to purchase this 6.5 acre strip to add it to his property to provide an increased buffer between him and Tennessee Apparel. Tennessee Apparel has agreed to sell him that piece of property, but he would just like to get it rezoned before he combines it with his, as a piece of property that is zoned industrial would be of no use to him, as he intends to keep that property as his residence.
Any questions on this one? Not, let's vote. That motion carries 6-0. Item number 8. Am I in the right spot? Make sure. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Number 7. Ordinance number 1679. Ordinance to amend the zoning map to rezone a parcel located at 0 Tool Street from low density residential to medium density residential R2 for passage on the first of 2 readings. Mr. Luther.
This is the neighboring parcel to 401 Lamont. The applicant is seeking to rezone it for the same reasons. To reiterate, this parcel does have established right-of-way along it. The parcel was part of the larger subdivision in that area, but these parcels were never finished. The right-of-way was established, but the parcels weren't subdivided. The parcel at 0 Tool Street is currently zoned R1, and the applicant is seeking to have that rezoned to R2.
Yeah, we need a motion second on this one. Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Thank you. Any comments on this one?
I do. So for the same reasons as, basically this lot is just the neighboring lot of the one that I was speaking out about before, that these properties are surrounded by agriculture and low density R1. And so for me, the same reasons apply to this as the first one.
Any other comments?
I agree. This is the same as the other one, so.
Let's vote. Motion fails 3-3. Brings us to item number 8. Ordinance number 1680, ordinance of the City of Tullahoma, Tennessee to enlarge eligibility for appointees to the Tullahoma Municipal Airport Authority for passage on the first of 2 readings. Do we have a motion on that? We have a motion by Alderman Byrd. Alderman Byrd, you want to tell us about this one?
Yes, this came, it was a request from TAA at the, that would have been the January meeting to have some research done as to the best way to expand the residency requirements. They have been having issues getting applicants in Tullahoma city limits. So after a conversation with City Administrator Quick, the idea of using the urban growth boundary as the residency requirement, it's well defined. It's something that we actually have an interactive map so that we can check the applicants' residency requirements to make sure they're in that. We had kicked around the idea of using something like a economic impact area, but that's not really well defined. So it would be something that could be arguable whether or not someone was in it or out of it. So this I brought to the airport authority, and they unanimously passed it. It wouldn't add seats to the board. It's just expanding the area that would allow people to be on the airport authority.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this one?
There is no second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's have a second. I second it.
I went in.
And I do have comments.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Originally, when I first heard about this, I thought, well, that's a good idea. There has been a little trouble getting people to serve on the board, and maybe cast a wider net might be a good idea. But then I started thinking about that. Here we are getting ready to celebrate the 250th year of getting our independence and fighting the Revolutionary War. And a big reason why we fought that war was for no taxation without representation. And kind of what this represents, what you're asking us to approve tonight, is actually granting representation with no taxation, since the people in the UGB do not get taxed. So on that matter, I would just have to vote against this, but I do have an alternative proposal if you'd like to hear it. And that is, several years ago, I think it was in the early 2000s, Tullahoma passed a law that allowed people that weren't residents or didn't reside in Tullahoma, but owned property of a certain dollar amount. I don't know what that dollar amount is, but it had to be of a certain dollar amount, that they were allowed to vote in city elections. So that means that they own property in Tullahoma, they are paying city taxes, city property taxes in Tullahoma, and they are allowed to vote in city elections. So my counter proposal to that is, instead of expanding it to the UGB, expand it to those people that are property owners in Tullahoma, pay taxes, and are eligible to vote in city elections. Let them be on the board, and not just the airport board, any board or agency in Tullahoma that we appoint to.
That's an entirely different motion when you include that. That can't really
Well,
be.
we could tackle them one at a time. I suppose we can, if you agree, and I guess I'd have to amend the motion, ask for an amended motion, but if that's the way we want it to go, we could do the airport tonight, and maybe if we decided to in the future, add the other boards.
The reason that specifically the airport would make sense is because the airport serves a larger region. And currently the 2 applicants that I know have put in to be on the board that are in the urban growth boundary, they're both hangar owners. So they do pay taxes in Tullahoma.
Well, they would qualify under the proposal that I made if they are hangar owners and are paying taxes, property taxes in Tullahoma.
That would also make it someone who lived in Nashville could technically serve on a board in Tullahoma if they owned a property in Tullahoma.
That's currently they could vote in the Tullahoma municipal election if they, I think the dollar amount is 5,000. It's pretty low. I think maybe we should look at revising that in the future because when it was done, it was probably a bigger piece of property. But if as long as you own a piece of property that's worth $5,000,
I think it's 50.
50,000.
Because I remember we addressed this some year or two
Well,
back.
that would make more sense.
It was like you owned property valued at 50,000 or more is what I remember. Yeah.
Well, that would make
maybe
more
our city attorneys could tell you.
Mr. Worsham.
I think I need to look at that ordinance. I'm not sure how we've defined property. I'm not sure that a hangar would be considered real property, although they do property taxes. We do have personal property taxes as well as real property taxes in Tullahoma. So I need to look at the ordinance, see how it's worded, to see whether or not owning a hangar would comply with that. And I do think perhaps that $5,000 is the limit for owning property. That's an old ordinance we enacted a number of years ago. So I'd like to look at that, and I don't have that with me, of course, tonight.
So I would point out that the Planning Commission has an urban growth boundary, remember, although it does zone all the way into the urban growth boundary, but again, the airport extends in usage to that distance as well. If we're gonna start getting really complicated, then maybe we need to step back and have a longer discussion about this in a planning session. You know, I announced that I'm gonna form up a steering committee, and it seems like the kind of thing a steering committee ought to take up and make recommendations on. I have no objection to it as it's written now, but if we're gonna start trying to change it here in the middle of a meeting, I'd just soon have that discussion, or at least another discussion. I mean, we could pass it now and then modify it again later if we wanted to, I suppose. But if we're going to start trying to have a complicated amendment, I wouldn't support that.
I'm fine with that, but I will. I'll have to vote no to that because I just I can't vote. I was elected to serve the people of Tullahoma, the taxpayers of Tullahoma, and I think that there are plenty of qualified people. I know, Mayor, you had a lot of trouble trying to find the proper people for the Planning Commission. It may not be easy, and maybe we don't need to just appoint the first person that comes up if they're not qualified, or when a seat comes up, we just look at the applications and here's the people that applied. We have to appoint one of them. We don't have to. We could wait until we get the right person. So just as you did, Mayor, and then I don't think casting the wider net into the UGB will be the answer. I think the people can be here that are taxpayers in Tullahoma. That's who we're elected to serve, as the taxpayers, and the airport being one of the city's biggest assets, we would be turning over to people to make decisions upon that don't even pay taxes, don't have skin in the game, so to speak. So I'll vote against that.
Alderman Wilson.
I was just going to say that when we use the example of the Planning Commission and the urban growth boundary, you know, because it's the Regional Planning Commission, the airport to me is very different than that, because the decisions that are made there could really implicate the city and the taxpayers, because, you know, the money comes from the taxpayers. The decisions they make really could affect the taxpayers a lot. I mean, you know, as we've seen. So I guess what I'm saying is it's just different. The Planning Commission and the Tullahoma Utilities Board are just two way different examples, because so anyway.
Could I also add to that? I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the UGB member of the Planning Commission, there's only one designated seat on that for the UGB. You couldn't have all. Yeah, so that's a big difference too.
The board would also have the determining factor in who gets appointed. So that would be the board could be responsible for limiting that if they chose to. If, like you said, if there are no applicants that are inside of city limits and we're only having applicants that are from the urban growth boundary, That's kind of where this was made to help some.
I understand, and I have.
Hold on, Ms. Wilson was lined up to speak.
I was also just also thinking that because we are a regional airport, that we actually could, I think, have up to 11 members on the board.
We do not have a regional airport authority, however. You can have a regional airport authority, and in that case, you go into partnership with another government entity, such as the county or city of Manchester or something like that. And I don't think we're ready to talk about that anything kind of complicated tonight.
No.
So.
I think all I was going to say is just I can't vote to pass that over. I've got two really good friends that would be excellent members of the airport authority that live in the UGB, and so I'm voting against my own thing. And like I said, I have mixed emotions, but I was thinking on my vote, I have to look at the right thing for all the citizens and not vote for individuals. You have to vote for on the whole, or what the ramifications for the future, for posterity. And I don't think it's good for the taxpayers at Tullahoma to be on the hook for paying for something, and then other people are making decisions on the money to spend.
Any other comments? If not, let's vote. Motion fails for lack of majority, 3-3. All right. We withdrew item number 9, so we'll skip to number 10. Item number 20-19, a request from the police department to approve the surplus of 37 department firearms for in-store credit with Rusty Oak Armory. The in-store credit then to be used to purchase ROA 15 Gen 3 rifles. Mr. Quick.
Would you have a motion and a second already?
Yes, we have a motion and a second.
Oh, okay, good. I want to commend Chase Sons, and I do this every time when I see an item like this come on board. He does a very outstanding job of handling the finances of the police department, and it's not all about spending, but he's always looking for savings, looking for ways to save taxpayer dollars without sacrificing the quality of the equipment that he makes sure that his people have. This is another example. They have developed a very strong relationship with Rusty Oak Armory, and so instead of us just trying to sell guns for whatever, in order for us to get that in-store credit means that Chase, and I would think probably Deputy Chief Kennedy, Lieutenant Henderson, and others have been involved with that. So I would recommend that we do this. This is something that we've done before as far as getting the in-store credit, and we're getting it at no cost to the city.
Any discussion? Not, let's vote. Passes 6-0. Item number 26-20, request from the Parks and Rec Department to approve the professional services agreement with Loose Design in the amount of $33,000 for design of the additional parking connecting roadway and 50-70 field at Johnson Lane Soccer Complex, and authorize the mayor to execute the same. We have a motion and a second.
So this is one where you've seen this just recently, where you, the board, allowed us to have access or approval to apply for the local Parks and Recreation Fund grant for Johnson Lane. Also, at that time, Alderman Glick had brought up that we may need to look at a redesign from the road perspective in order to try to put it more on the periphery of the property and not into where there could be some pedestrian traffic, which is a great idea. So what we're asking is, we do have the money in ARPA funds for us to go in and do that engineering redraw in order to have the road already moved around. And I think this is outstanding dollars used for that. And I don't know if JP, if you have anything you'd like to add.
Just that if you see on the last page of the packet, there is a drawing where Lowson Associates will redraw the master plan that we had drawn in 2007 for the park. It would add a new parking lot on the western edge, and the roadway would come as it originally was supposed to. There is a retention pond that we will have to be careful of. We may be able to fill it in and maybe make it bigger on another side. This would add about 80 parking places on the side of the park where we need it for tournaments. This would also design the 50-70 field. In the proposal that we sent to the state, we had the parking lot and the roadway design and just a very preliminary design for the 50-70 field. So this does multiple things and updates the master plan for Johnson Lane Recreation Area.
Any comments or questions on this one?
Yeah, I will comment. I think that's an excellent redesign that was done. I think if any of you looked at it in the book, you'd agree that's a much better use of the park property. It keeps the main unused part of the park open without a road cutting through the middle of it, and so we'd never have to worry about a road running through the middle of activity zones in a park. Also, I think the additional parking and connecting the two sides of the park. There's a parking lot on the soccer side of the park and a parking lot on the softball side, and they don't connect. You have to go way back around through the neighborhood to get to the other side. So this would be a much needed connection between those two parking lots.
I would also like to thank Sue Wilson. She pointed out that we have $33,000 left on ARPA money that we need to use, or we will lose it. This will be at no cost to us.
Great. Win-win.
Any other comments?
Yeah, you were talking about the water retention.
Yeah, sorry.
Is that the pond by the cemetery?
No, there are
No.
5 retention
Oh,
ponds
okay,
out there for
okay.
all the impervious surfaces that we have. This is a larger pond near the dumpster at
Okay.
Johnson Lane softball complex. I'm not sure if they can fit the road in there. They may have to, apply for an ARAP permit and fill and then make it larger somewhere else.
Okay.
Alderman Wilson.
I was just gonna say, well done. This looks a lot better to me, and the fact that the road and the parking lots are on the periphery of the fields, it's going to be safer. I mean, obviously, not driving through the middle of the park makes it a lot safer. So, I'm excited to see it.
I'd also like to comment, I want to commend JP, but also all of our department heads. When we brought on our new insurance carrier, the first thing we focused on is risk management. And in looking at this and in looking at the redesign, for us to do that redesign for $33,000, not at our cost, it's all about taking care of our kids and taking care of our pedestrians in there. But I just want to say thank you to the rest of our department heads. They've done an outstanding job. They always think about what's our risk, and so we're looking far beyond just making a decision, but what are the impacts of that decision? And JP did an excellent job with this.
Yeah, this is good.
Anything else? Let's vote. Motion carries 6-0. That brings us to item 12, or item number 2621, 12th on our agenda. A request from Alderman Byrd to nominate and appoint a qualified applicant to the Tullahoma Airport Authority Board to fill a 5-year term ending February 27th, 2031. Alderman Byrd.
Thank you. This is something that was, Mr. Cope said that he did not wish to fill his second term, so instead, the recommendation was made to appoint Mr. Compton in his place. There is still an additional opening that would be Ray Noah's unfinished term, which could be filled at a later date.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Compton, would you like to come introduce yourself?
Yeah, good evening. My name is Brock Compton. I live at 106 Redbud Lane here in Tullahoma. I do live in city limits and I pay all the taxes. So I'm here to speak on the board's consideration for citizen participation of the serving on the Tullahoma Airport Authority Board. I have 15 years of aviation experience in the military and as a civilian contractor. on airfields all over the U.S. and a few around the world. I've worked on this airfield since 2019, the past 3 years of which I've been the field-based mechanic for Vanderbilt Life Flight. In the last 7 years, I've observed that with all the business on the airfield being conducted daily, we haven't even scratched the surface of opportunity for this airport and what it can provide. The air park on the north side has been sitting vacant for the better part of a decade, waiting to be filled. Sorry, I lost my place. Waiting to be filled and bringing new jobs and revenue to the city. Future development at a healthy, sustainable growth rate is easily achieved with the proper policy and planning by making logical decisions that benefit the current lease owners, the current businesses, and the future businesses of the airport. Also keeping open and clear communication with this board and producing profitable revenue at the airfield to no longer be a burden on this budget and to the taxpayers of Tullahoma. I feel that my knowledge of the airfield, the aviation industry, and my daily presence on the site will provide beneficial insight to this board. And safety, efficiency, and prosperity, in that order, are my top priorities. And if you choose to appoint me to this position, I'm more than willing to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think we have I assume this motion is a nomination from Alderman Byrd.
That is correct.
Ms. Wilson.
I was just going to say, I appreciate your willingness to serve, and your qualifications are impeccable. So thank you again.
Is this something we vote on?
Anyone else? Yeah, we haven't voted yet, but,
Yeah.
all right, let's vote.
I have
Oh, I'm
just
sorry.
one more thing.
ahead.
You said that you were affiliated with Vanderbilt Life Flight, or you did
I'm the field-based mechanic, yes, ma'am.
the field-based mechanic. Okay. Do I need to abstain from this since I'm a employee?
Let's ask our attorneys. I don't think so, but let's ask our attorneys.
No, okay.
You don't have any financial gain. from
Right,
it.
okay.
No.
Just wanted to make
No,
sure.
I don't represent Vanderbilt in any way. That's my job on the airfield.
Okay.
All right.
I just want to make sure everything is.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's vote. 6 yes. Congratulations, Mr. Compton. Appreciate your willingness to serve.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. The 13th item, number 26-22, an information item from Alderman Glick and City Administrator Jason Quick to share information obtained regarding FAA federal funding requirements and additional reporting. Mr. Glick?
This is, I guess we don't.
There's
do-
no motion here, it's just a
No,
report.
there's, yeah, there's not. Okay, when we were talking about paying for the fuel spill, we had conversations with the city attorney, and they had mentioned that we might want to seek the expert advice of someone that specializes in FAA or aviation matters. So I did some research, and I found an attorney and suggested him to Mr. Quick to get advice from him or get an opinion from him about the fuel spill, whether the funds and whether the fuel spill could be paid with airport funds. And he gave us that analysis, and in short, he said, yes, the fuel spill, all the expenses of the fuel spill could be paid with airport funds. So, and he gave us certain recommendations based on that. But I'll just give you his qualifications. His name's David Hernandez. He went to the Air Force Academy, got his MBA at Monmouth University. He went to law school at Northwestern University. He served in the Air Force in the Gulf War. He was an FAA prosecutor, and he was a U.S. DOT Honors Program attorney. He has significant experience resolving aircraft operational issues, financing, leasing, and regulatory matters, complex government investigations, aircraft and part certifications, and FAA, DOT, BIS/OFAC, IRS, and SEC enforcement matters. He has Based on the fuel spill itself, he gave his report. He said that the direct relationship exists to airport operations. Fuel storage and handling are integral to airport operations. Aviation fuel infrastructure is essential for serving aircraft operations, making fuel spill remediation a direct operating cost of maintaining the airport facility. The revenue use policy, section V.A.1, provides that airport revenue may be used for the capital operating costs of the airport, local airport system, or other facilities owned and operated by the airport owner or operator, and directly and substantially related to the air transportation of passengers and property. Secondly, environmental cleanup and compliance are recognized airport operating costs. The FAA acknowledges that airports must meet federal and state environmental requirements, and expenses incurred to maintain environmental compliance are legitimate airport operational expenses. Third, the revenue use policy recognizes various infrastructure maintenance costs as legitimate airport expenses. Fuel system maintenance and remediation fall within this category as they preserve critical airport infrastructure. And he's given us several recommendations. I'm not going to read through the whole thing. The full report is included in the agenda packet for all the aldermen, or it's online for anyone else that they would like to see. But I think his recommendations are something that we can easily follow. I think it could, and I think Miss Wilson has been in contact with him to work out some of the things she needs to do as far as the county.
So I'm looking at this document. It's on page 184. Oh, I'm sorry. His, and I'm looking at yours.
Let's see.
It is 184.
Sorry.
Starts.
His is, yeah, I'm sorry. It's like 190 something.
There's a whole bunch of pay. He included the FAA. Starts on 186. Sorry.
Yep. Would our attorneys like to weigh in on this at all?
Yes, Mayor, I would. I would just, I think it's great that we got the FAA attorney's opinion, but I would just point out that, you know, he says airport revenue may, in capital letters, be used to reimburse fuel spill cleanup that qualify as operating cost of the airport. And if you flip to, he did kind of a board and auditor briefing, page 2 of that, he noted risk flags off airport cleanup. And so that's what I pointed out all along, is that this fuel spill went off-site, not just on airport property. And what the FAA would do is come in and make sure that everything that we did was directly related to fuel spill. We did some landscaping at Ascend, which is what gives me concern just a little bit. I noticed that at the end of his report, he said we can also assist with reviewing specific expense categories. I don't know if he saw our actual bill from OES, and actually, if you look at the bill from OES, I don't know that it exactly lays out, you know, exactly what happened off-site with Ascend. I mean, it's kind of lump sum categories. But I still think the FAA would come in and pick that apart. That's not to say that they wouldn't approve it, but if we put in bushes, for example, as the landscaping at the pond, they're gonna closely analyze that. So I don't know anything about this attorney. This is not to say anything bad about him. I think we should give him the bill to review it and go through, and because he says he can do that. But there's nothing in this report about that, that this would be, you know, our bill specifically, you know, that he's looked at that and that everything in our bill is going to be covered. That's not the opinion he gave. He's given the same opinion I did. Airport revenue may be used if it qualifies as operating costs of the airport. And I think in general, fuel spill would qualify. But this was a huge, you know, fuel spill, and there was a lot that went into cleaning it up. And the airport, I mean, the FAA is going to scrutinize that. I just think we need to be really careful about how we categorize things. It would be wise to have his help with that. And he also noted, you know, for loan purposes, that they can't pay anything back. There's a statute of limitations at 6 years. I think our loan that was approved by the board is 12 years. So that also gives me concern.
I think if the cost was incurred within 6 years, not the payback period. I mean, we could get.
It will be on page right here, risk analysis. Expenses older than 6 years cannot be reimbursed, which should not be a concern given the recency of the incident, but will be problematic with the 12-year term loan. So that also gives me concern because he's telling us, you know, the loan that we approved, there may be issues with that. I still think it's a good idea to get him to look at the bill. I mean, if he has all the experience
I think
that
he
Kurt just
has.
laid out.
Mr. Quick could expand on that, but I think
And
he
again,
has
I
been
don't know
given the
that our
bill.
bill actually lays out every little itemized, it's very, that's not saying anything bad about OES or the bill. It's a very great bill. It's detailed. But I don't know that the landscaping and specific things are detailed on the bill. And I do know that the FAA would scrutinize that. They would come in and look hard at it. I think we have a common goal here to make sure that we can be paid back if we're gonna give them the money. It's just smart to get an expert to come in and advise us on this, not just give us a packet, but maybe come to the study session and discuss this as to exactly what happened. Maybe talk to somebody from OES and just ensure us, specifically give us an opinion that this is gonna be approved, because this opinion does not say, yes, they can do it. It says they may in capital letters, if it qualifies as an operating expense of the airport.
I think it also says we do not believe any enforcement risk given the current circumstances. I was able to send him a copy of the bill, and he did describe that it was very detailed. I would tell you it was very rarely do I have enjoy having a conversation with an attorney, but I will tell you this man is one of the best attorneys I've ever spoken to from the standpoint of he's able to break it down. I know Sue was very impressed with the level of expertise that he had, and also just the way he was able to talk. And I remember the email that you sent to me explaining that. So I feel confident based on the conversations that I've had with him that it should the board or whoever decide that they would like to have him come on board to do some work, I think that'd be great. I know that I think it was discussed that I didn't have the ability to reach out to the man or hire the man, but I think it was cleared up that I do have a $10,000 spending limit, to which this is going to be far well under that limit. But as far as going forward, any kind of engagement with him, then I think that's possible. But then I would also ask the question, who foots the bill? Does TAA have any stake in that, or is it just going to be strictly a city expense to bear?
So it seems somewhat obvious that at the current moment, TAA can't pay the fuel bill, even if it's legal to do so, because they already are subsidized.
No, I would say this right here is city. I'm saying if there was looking to be a further engagement with him, would the TAA be involved?
I understand that, but I'm just saying the TAA can't afford to pay the fuel spill payment now. And I don't see how they could afford then to pay the attorney bill on top of that. I would love to see the airport to get where that we can do that. And therefore, I don't think this is a pressing question, because there's no funds for them to help us with it right now as it is, unless you just want to get the attorney in here and while it's all fresh and get it a ruling. Even then, I think if you get to the point where you actually start paying that bill, we're going to have to figure out how we segregate the part that's allowed versus the part that's not allowed. So there's work to do in the future on that.
I think, and I think most of it would be allowed because it said all cost to do the environmental cleanup, to meet environmental regulations, and maybe replacing some bushes may or may not be. But bushes, when you're talking about $750,000, is a very small thing we're talking about that would be off the bill. But I think it would be worth it to the city of Tullahoma would be to talk with him and consider retaining him, having a contract with him maybe in the future to work with us on these airport issues and to work with us not only on this fuel spill issue, but he offers a lot of other services that are kind of outlined in there that he could provide with helping the airport get to where it could, the goal of having it more self-sustainable.
Ms. Hoskins.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I agree. I think the reason this is so important is because what is clear to me from the case law is that if the FAA found that the revenue from the airport was used improperly, doesn't matter if it was $1 for a bush, they can find them, and part of their punishment is they have to repay all of the grants that they've received. And my understanding is there's about $20 million right now. So it is a big deal. It's very important that we get this right. It could cost us a whole lot more than the fuel spill did. And so I do think it's important that we make sure that we do this the right way. I understand in just layman's terms, you know, the fuel spill, sure, it's related to airport expenses. That's not how the FAA analyzes it. And I do think he needs to get the exact facts of what happened and go through all of that. Maybe we could invite him if you're gonna have a study session, or have him come talk to the board and then do maybe a vote on what Kurt is, you know, saying.
Are we speaking the exact facts of the event?
The fuel spill.
Yeah, he has that report as well.
He has but the OES bill doesn't lay out the landscaping that was put in at Ascends Pond the way that the OES owner
I think-
relayed it to the board. And the FAA would look at that and
I
consider
think
that.
what we could do is, if you remember correctly, he wrote this report, and we told him we were really in a hurry. We were, we engaged him before that we did the previous vote at the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and we told him we needed a report back fairly quickly because it hinged on the date of the 20th that we had to make the payment. We were going to try to get something before we actually vote on it. We went a different route, but it's still important now to get the proper procedure. And so now I think that's when it becomes important to, like Ms. Hoskins said, is retain him to look at the details of it, make sure we dot all the i's and cross all the t's and move forward. And like I said, he would be an excellent person to represent us on any aviation matters, I think, in the future. I think he's highly qualified.
A comment I would have is, my experience has always been bad things happen in threes. We had a unfortunate plane crash in June of last year. We had a fuel spill recently. And so I would hate for something else to happen, and because we didn't think it was a pressing matter, that we didn't pursue that could come back, and the third one could be the one that gets us.
I'm sorry, what about determining this FAA information is a pressing matter that would cause a problem?
I'm saying moving forward is a pressing matter.
Yeah, I think,
okay.
If I may
So I
make
guess
a
it-
comment.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to
Mr. Burke.
thank you for getting this together. I will say that it does also confirm what I and the TAA had brought up, and that was that part of this bill, not the entire bill, part of this bill might not be allowed to be repaid, and that would be the remediation on Ascend's property that had to do with landscaping and sprinklers that were repaired. That would be the repair of a broken pipe that is city's property, and the installation of the valve to prevent any other fuel leaks from going onto Ascend's property. Those are the items that I'm somewhat concerned with. And that's where I do agree that having an attorney look through this so that we have the attorney's backing when we say that we are splitting the bill correctly is probably a good thing. There is also the possibility of, instead of getting an attorney that's in DC, where if they wanted to attend a study session, they'd have to fly here, and I'm assuming we would be responsible for that travel expense, that we do have FAA attorneys that are semi-local. They would be in the Nashville area that we could also reach out to and at least, excuse me, at least compare costs.
yeah, we could do that. He is very familiar with the situation already and has worked on it some. I don't think, with this day and time with technology, I don't know how important it is that he actually be here in person. He could come in on a Skype or whatever, Zoom meeting or something, and meet with us that way. And a lot of stuff is done through email and so forth. So I don't think the proximity of him would be a problem. But I think it's obvious, just kind of as a layman would realize that it's not going to pay for improvements. It's only going to fix what was there. If you, like an insurance claim on your house, it's going to put it back the way it was. It's not going to improve it. But So, you know, stuff like that I think are obvious. But if the expense of the thing that contains the fuel or whatever, it might not, it would still be an airport expense because it's around based on the fuel. It's so, but anyway, I mean, we could split hairs, talk about that all night, but I think that only we get to the,
Let me add this too. We had a meeting last week with our insurance broker, and in speaking with our insurance agent, we were told that we have no coverage. Fortunately, we were able to meet with our broker, and there is, while it's not much, it's $10,000 that would be available to us. So what we're looking at doing is getting with OES and Matt Church, asking for a breakdown of what occurred on airport property versus what did not. Then we're able to submit that, and then there's about a $10,000 check that we will be able to get on that. So very, very happy that we learned that from our broker, and looking forward to getting that information and getting that filed.
okay, the second part of the agenda item, and I guess it's the right time to have Mr. Quick give his report on the airport.
Yeah. I have Lori. She's got those. She's going to pass those out for you. So as I begin, as much as I would hate to, I feel like I need to readdress a couple of comments that were made in my absence last week by one of our citizens, Mr. Bennett. Explained about the TCS suit and my involvement with that. What I'd like to remind him, and unfortunately he must not have read the October 8, 2024 Tullahoma News, is
Mr. Quick, is this on topic for the, this is not on topic for the.
No, this is me telling,
Mr. Quick, you're out of order
him.
because this is not on topic with the item we approved for the agenda.
So you don't want to hear this?
I do not want to hear it now because it's out of topic for the agenda that we approved.
Maybe you and I could talk about this after the meeting.
That'd be
I look
fine.
forward to that. All right, so we'll just move on here. I will say this, I am, as been determined by Kathy Manis, has spoken to this, Carla Smith, there's not been a bigger supporter of the airport than me, period. And so when she was asking for, have you been out to the airport, I think that I would have definitely been able to raise my hand. And I appreciate you allowing me to say that, Mayor. Before
Tread
you,
lightly.
and I've got these things numbered, just so you can stay kind of on top of it with me. I want to refer to a couple things. One, this is the agreement between the City of Tullahoma and the TAA, drawn on June of 2011. You may have seen this once before. This is almost identical language to the relationship that we have with the TAEDC. And I want to reiterate, if you look on 2, I've highlighted in yellow, the City of Tullahoma's Human Resource Director will provide assistance during the recruitment and selection of full-time and part-time airport personnel. Lori, could you give just a slight summary or detail of how that looks, what that looks like? And you could almost look at what we did with the TAEDC, which is a similar process.
The hiring process?
Yes, please.
We post the jobs with the job description. We get the candidates, we select the ones that are the most qualified, and we interview them.
Okay, but, so we go through an interview panel but who you coordinate, so HR coordinates the schedule of candidates and all of that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. As you look at it, it says the process will follow our guidelines, which we have briefly talked about. The airport authority will be responsible for the recruitment of the airport manager position. The authority will provide a written recommendation to the preferred candidate to the city administrator. City administrator will either approve or disapprove the candidate recommended by the authority. It, you know, I sometimes news gets away from us. I've never turned down a written recommendation. I have not received a written recommendation from the TAA. So just want to make that clear that I have not officially turned that down.
Can
But
we,
what I will tell you is.
Can we ask
in-
questions as we go here, or do we gonna wait to the end of the 53 pages or whatever?
I'm sorry, say that again?
I said, can we ask questions as we go, or we're gonna
Oh,
wait
you
to
know
the
what?
end?
I'd love for you to ask a
Okay.
question,
You skipped over the other yellow highlights you had there.
which was,
So in section 2, subletter little I, says the recruitment selection process will follow the policies outlined in the city's personnel regulations, chapter 3, recruitment employment, with the exceptions outlined in 2A2 and 2A3. So there's some exception here to this, correct?
yeah,
So the exception stated is that the airport authority will be responsible for recruitment of the airport manager position. The airport will provide a recommendation. So as I read that, for the selection of the airport manager, the airport authority is accepted from following the procedures that the city follows.
that's not what that says.
That's not what it says?
No,
I'm
sir.
pretty sure that's what it says. What do you think it
It's
says?
exactly identical to what you and I talked about with the TAEDC, which you then agreed was correct. So I don't think it's any different between the TAEDC and TAA airport manager. It's the same language.
Well, if it is, then that's part of the point. When we hired the TADC director, we went through our own process. The city assisted us, but we went through our own process.
So you're saying that the airport manager, so if it's different.
Let's just read it.
If it's excluded, why would they even put that in there?
To exclude it, the
To ex-
retirement and selection process will follow the policies outlined in the city's personnel regulations, with the exceptions outlined in 2A. 2AII, the airport authority will be, that's an exclusion from the regular policy.
Correct.
Yeah.
Then it says the city manager will either approve or disapprove the candidate recommended by the authority.
Yeah.
Well, to
I got no issue with that. But you were asking how the procedure goes and asking Ms. Lori here to explain the city hiring procedure. And the city hiring procedure is excluded as I read it. What do our attorneys say about that?
Yeah, Mayor, I think you're absolutely correct. I mean, it says, follow the policies and procedures except 2AI. You look at 2AI, it says the airport authority is responsible for recruitment of the airport manager position. Then it says, and this is the part I think everyone's skipping over, the authority will provide a written recommendation of their candidate to the city administrator. As Mr. Quick noted, they have not done that. So this board is without authority right now to be really denying, telling them ahead of time that they're going to deny their candidate, or looking through their applications and telling them who they have to choose from. They
And so-
have the
so-
authority, I'm still talking, they have the authority to pick who they want as the airport authority. And then they give us, Mr. Quick, the city administrator, a written recommendation of who they choose. Then Mr. Quick gets to approve or deny their candidate and present it to the board, who then gets to vote on it.
That's
That-
exactly what I just said. So
No, you
if
had
you'll- if-
Lori
if-
talk about
well, if
the
we'll keep going
procedures
here,
which do not apply.
If you'll go
Hold on.
through here,
Hold on, let Ms.
The procedures do not apply to the airport the recruitment of the airport manager position, because they told us exactly how it's gonna work in the agreement
Right.
that we entered into with the
I
airport.
agree with that.
So what did you ask about the,
That's 100% correct. That I've tried to figure out where we're not seeing the same thing.
so you would
I'm just
agree,
wondering
so
why
you would
Lori
agree
would-
then that the airport authority would not be bound by the city's rules for interviewing and providing job descriptions?
Say that again.
You would agree that the airport authority in hiring the manager is not bound by the city's interview policies or requirements for, well, that's
I
the
don't think-
disagreement.
Why don't we keep going through this, and I think it'll start making sense to you. It'll fill in some
Oh,
blanks
trust me,
for
Mr.
you.
Quick, it makes perfect sense.
But with that stated, there are basic things that applications to avoid people bringing legal suit to us, that they would have to follow certain guidelines to select candidates
Well, that's
based on the
fine, But
qualifications, correct?
that's their policy. The airport authority is a separate corporate entity.
But when they get sued because of saying no to this person and saying yes to this person, when they're equal.
But you're
and one
assuming-
could be, so if they get sued, who does that fall on? Who pays that?
So you're assuming that the airport authority is not able to make good decisions and that the city is,
No.
and we should implement that on.
I'm just saying, but that all of this is assuming
Yeah.
that when the airport authority is selecting positions, that they're doing it observing a legal way of doing it.
I don't know about assumptions, but I know here it says that they're not bound by our rules for hiring the airport
But it
manager.
would still mean.
They're
you would
bound by state and federal law.
Right.
And somebody needs to make sure that they are. If they, and to answer your question, if they get sued, yeah, we're going to pay for it just like we pay for the fuel spill.
Ms. Hoskins.
Well, the check on that is written into the agreement. That's why the board ultimately gets to vote on their candidate. That's why there's a process. They don't get to just pick. There's a process. They choose first. Then, number two, they have to make a written recommendation. They have not done that yet.
That's what I just said.
So-
They have not provided me a written.
I'm still talking, Mr. Quick.
Well, but.
So number
you're
two
not saying
is the
anything new.
written, number
Mr.
two
Quick.
is the written
Time
recommendation.
out. Mr. Quick, the chair will make the decisions about whether somebody's done or not you. Ms. Hoskins.
Number two is the written recommendation, which they have not done. But after that, he gets to approve or deny, the administrator gets to approve or deny, then it comes to our board. So they don't just get to do this and there's no check on that. The board still ultimately gets to approve or deny their candidate. There is a check on that.
Well, right
But
now
they
it's-
have to first follow the process and
Just to-
make a written recommendation.
Just to clarify, right now, it's the city administrator that gets to be the check on that, correct?
Him first, then it comes to the board.
It does not
If he
come.
denies,
does
it doesn't come to the board.
No, it goes back to the TAA, but
Okay.
what we don't get to do is say, here's 3 applications, you have to pick from these 3.
Why won't you let's go through this and you'll see that's not what has happened.
Okay,
You know,
I ju-
we're
I was
hearing
just trying to-
allegations and
I was just trying-
accusations.
I was just trying to establish something that you're still disagreeing with me on.
I agree with Ms. Hoskins. I think she's absolutely
So I'm
right.
gonna ask it one more time then, so we can be clear before we move on.
Not gonna answer it, so you can ask it if you'd like. So if you look on page 6, the job description was given to us by this hiring committee and the TAA board. They're the ones that said, this is what we're looking for. This is not our job description, this is their job description. You'll see that it's highlighted with a bachelor's degree, 5 years of progressive experience in airport operations and management, strong knowledge of FAA regulations, grant assurances, and airport finance, excellent leadership, communications, and organizational skills. That's what they asked for this. Now, if you'll go through on page 7, you'll see that according to city policy, any candidate for employment must first fill out and sign a city application form in order to be considered for hiring.
Can I ask a question there?
I'm not through reading. Applications for employment will only be accepted for announced vacancies and during scheduled recruitment periods. The reason I bring that to you is this applicant or this candidate that they're talking about, we don't have a resume on him. We don't have an application or anything else on him. So your question is?
Where does this come from? Is this from our personnel policy?
100%, yes, sir.
The personnel policy that they are excluded from following back in the first page?
From 2019.
From the first page of this document says they're excluded from following the personnel policy.
No, if you look up at the top, it says agreement. On the very first page of this document I gave you, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
That says agreement. That is
Okay.
the agreement between TAA and the city of Tullahoma. It's not part of our personnel policy.
That's not what I'm asking. The application process.
Mm-hmm. That has to, every candidate that we're aware of, that we've been notified of, has filed an application through normal channels.
I'm sorry,
in
this
our-
application process is part of the contract between the city?
No, sir. No, this is
Okay.
again, this is city policy.
So this is city policy.
Correct. Okay.
So
So if you go
again,
to page 8,
Did you just
you'll
go
see
bulldoze over me?
rejection of
Sir,
applicants.
suspend your comments, and I've got a comment and a
Why-
question. This says that the recruitment will follow the city policy except for the for the airport manager. So why are you quoting the airport policy to us?
That's not the airport
I mean,
policy.
why are you?
This is the city policy.
Why are you quoting the city policy to us when they are accepted from that for the airport manager hire?
Help me understand something. And I didn't bring the TAEDC agreement with me.
We're not talking about the THC
It's the same agreement
It is
that you
not the
agreed
same.
to. I've got emails that basically it was explained to you and you finally agreed that, yeah, you know what, you're right, that's the way things work. So I'm trying to figure out what the difference is. It's a different position, but it's the same agreement. Mr. Worsham's the one that drafted it and they signed it. Maybe he could explain, is there a difference?
Yes, there's a difference. But there's a difference. I've seen the TEADC agreement. They're not the same. Maybe some of the language might be similar, but they are not the same agreement. And you're right, the city policy that he's referencing does not apply to the airport manager position because the contract specifically excludes it.
So, wow. So does the TAEDC one.
That has nothing to do with what we're talking
Okay, so
about,
we're
Mr. Quick.
selectively going to enforce it. All right, so rejection of
Mr.
applicants.
Quick.
You know what?
Discussion of
I
the-
spent a lot of
discussion
time on
the
this report.
TADC is irrelevant to the airport authority. The agreement we are talking about is sitting right here in front of us in black and white.
Yeah, sure.
So since you can't apparently win your argument with that, you're going to talk about another thing? Let's stick to
That's
the
fine.
document that's in front of us.
Okay, and so we are on page 8, rejection of applicants, talks about if they don't have the established qualifications, all right? So, next page is on page 9. Our HR team took the resumes, all the resumes that were received, and they looked at, did they check the years of experience, of progressive experience and bachelor's degree? And then you'll see possibly check yes, 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 yes. Okay? So we looked at that. Now, this is an important, page 10. We were notified by Carla Smith. In fact, I had an email from her. I don't know if I didn't put that in there. But basically was telling me who the candidate was going to be. Hadn't gone anywhere yet. By the way, I know this young man, outstanding young man. Had him in high school. Model of character and integrity for a young man. Excellent. I went with her to let her know that based on my understanding of his qualifications of working at the airport part-time for 5 years and not having the bachelor's degree qualification met, that I was not going to be able to approve that. And the reason I did that is this, because I wanted to avoid what is happening today and what has been happening over the last couple of weeks. I wanted to avoid that for that young man, and I wanted to avoid that for the airport, and I wanted to avoid that for the city, to let them know that he doesn't meet those qualifications, and by our policy, can't do that. So I haven't rejected an official candidate. I had a conversation with her. In fact, I tried to have the conversation with her and with Miss Manis, who was over the hiring committee. She was out of town. So Miss Smith and I met, and I explained to her that should that happen, I'm not going to be able to approve that. Again, I did that because I wanted to avoid any kind of problems, controversy, any of the stuff that's been happening over the past month or so. That's why that occurred. All right. Regardless, after I did that, the hiring committee, knowing how I felt, decided to go ahead and approve this young man for recommendation for the airport authority, or for the new airport manager. We were supposed to have a meeting, TAA search committee meeting with city leadership on Thursday, January 15th, that was canceled by the TAA chairman. When I asked why it was canceled, she said that she had spoken to our city attorney, who according to him, he said he suggested, she took it more as she needed to do that, to cancel the meeting. Because that meeting, and in fact, Kathy Manis and I talked, it's like, I will have an open mind to come and talk in that meeting. But they took it from our city attorney that they should cancel the meeting.
Mayor,
I contacted, I'm almost done.
Respond to that right now.
Well, just hold up a
You
second.
all got an email from me about that. I have no authority to cancel meetings for the airport authority, and we all know that. I have known Carla Smith for 40 or 50 years. I've lived in this town for over 70 years, so I know a lot of people. We had a discussion about the spill at the airport. I'd had a discussion with the airport authority's attorney then, Mr. Jeremy Bell, about that and the fact that this meeting was coming up, and I simply asked her about that because of all of these controversial things that are happening now. Is it essential that you have this meeting now? And she said, no, it's not. We have an interim manager here that's helping us, an expert, and it'll be a couple of months before we really need to make a decision about that. I said, well, you could probably cancel it then. Probably canceling ones is definitely a different thing. And I want to make that, you all got an email about that. Mr. Quick got it too, so you know I didn't cancel any meeting.
And so,
Let me further add to that.
Yeah.
So that same day that was going on, there was a lot going on. I had conflicts as well, and Mr. Worsham mentioned it to me, and I said, yeah, I would support canceling it. We just do it some other time.
That's great. That's
So-
not what I was told. So I wasn't a part of that conversation, and I agree. I remember you said suggested, and Mr. Worsham, if you tell me you suggested that, I firmly believe you, because I've never known you not to tell the truth. But what I will tell you is that's not the way it was presented to me. When I asked Kathy Manis about why can't we meet, her comment to me was she's going to follow the advice or the guidance of the city attorney. That's all I'm telling you.
I never talked to Kathy Manos. I don't know who that
I
is.
didn't say you did. I'm
I
saying
didn't
that
even know anybody
how
named
she
Kathy
got that
Manos.
guidance, I don't know.
But you're inferring that when you say you talked
No,
to her and
no,
she told you
I'm
she was
not.
following the advice
All right,
of the
hold on,
city.
everybody.
So
Hold on,
I'm
hold on.
I'm telling you what she said.
Order. Order.
It's not.
Order.
Yeah.
All right. What's the relevance of it,
Of what?
of this meeting being
I think it's
canceled?
very important for the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and as you've seen through those emails that have gone back and forth for quite a long time, that you need to understand where this is coming from, and I
So
think it's
what's the
important.
particular relevance of the meeting being canceled?
What's the relevance? Because that's when we were supposed to meet to talk about this particular candidate. And I was very open to meeting with the hiring committee for them to say, hey, they're going to try to convince me. And I promised Kathy Manis before that meeting, I promised her I would definitely come in open-minded to see if they would do that.
Okay.
And then we haven't had a conversation about it since, and that was January 16th.
Yeah, we've been a little occupied.
Hmm.
Well, we have. Go ahead.
Okay. So then again, Kathy Manis, you'll see, I have to admit something, if you'll indulge me. I will admit, it was brought up that I had conversations with 3 candidates. I did. And here's why I had them. We are supposed to, according to the way that we've done things, the policy procedure, when we do interviews, we have score sheets, we ask structured questions, and we get that information and we put that into our file. We do that with all of our hires like that. We have that information. We have to keep it on file. We had asked for that, and Kathy Manis and the hiring committee stated that they did not have any of that information.
So was that wrong of them?
I think yes.
And why-
My understanding is it had been communicated to the TAA of how that process would work. I don't know if, now,
there's an
if it didn't
official
get to the
communica-
hiring committee, I don't know.
There's an official communication to the city requesting them to do that.
I don't know. There may be an email. Again, those aren't the communications that I have. Those that rest with our HR.
I'm curious why you think it was required they do it that way.
Because that's how our policy and procedures are set up. That's
The
and we keep
policy
them on
and
file.
procedure, which they are exempted from in this hire.
Okay. So I did have 3, and here's the conversation I had with those 3. It was the same conversation. It wasn't about the job. It wasn't about their qualifications. I asked them all the same question, and it was very simple. Tell me about the interview experience. Tell me about the interview. And the second part of that question was, do you feel like that you were asked structured questions? And all 3 of them said yes. That's great. So now I feel comfortable, and I reported that back to Lori, that I feel comfortable with that. Okay. But now I will say this. It was inferred that that I have 3 people I've selected. I haven't selected 3 people. I don't know where that came from. Now, the 3 emails the 3 that I attached to an email earlier were examples of people that had met those qualifications quite well, that I thought may consider consideration, along with the others that are on the spreadsheet that have been provided. Have I chosen anybody? No. But it was suggested that I had already started backroom dealing, and I will admit to you.
So
I will admit to you that I did have a conversation with one of those 3 people talking about a job offer. But the job offer was made by TAA because they're going to offer him the assistant manager position. So he did talk to me about that. That's not my backroom dealing. I'm just letting you know that did not occur with me.
I'm sorry, is talking to someone about a potential job backroom dealing?
If I'm accused,
I didn't accuse you
if
of it.
I'm
I'm just
answering your
asking.
question. You want to ask? You know, it's just ask and answer. If someone accuses me of talking to somebody about a job, and that is not the truth, then I just want to make sure it's understood. I didn't talk to anybody about a job, assistant manager. We didn't go into that. In fact, I left it with, "Thank you very much," and that was it. However, I don't know if y'all are still following. Look at page 15. You might want to read what's in yellow, because that is a concern.
Could you read that for the record?
I will. One of the three people I did talk to made some comments that did concern me, to which I said, you may, if you will send this to me, because I'm not going to, if you want this to be known, great, but I am not going to try to recreate what you've told me. And I said, if you want this to be known, you can send me an email, to which he did. During the interview, multiple panel members expressed concern that I might be overqualified and questioned why I would want the position. I explained, both during the meeting and to Mr. Quick, that my family and I are intentionally seeking a slower pace of life and a community-focused role. The position appeared to align very well with my goals, managing an airport, working closely with people, and being actively engaged in a small-town community. After meeting the panel and learning more about the individuals involved, I became aware that several members appeared to have direct connections to airport operations or interests related to the facility. From my perspective, that created a dynamic that felt unusual compared to structured hiring processes I am accustomed to in military leadership environments where selection boards are typically composed to minimize potential conflicts of interest. When Mr. Quick asked why I found the situation awkward, I explained that, as an outside candidate with no prior connection to Tullahoma or the airport, the process gave me the impression that there may be strong internal preferences or existing relationships influencing expectations for the role. I clarified to him that this was my personal perception based solely on the interview interaction and not based on any direct knowledge of wrongdoing. My overall impression was that I may not have been selected because my leadership style emphasizes transparency, accountability, and adherence to established standards, which can sometimes represent change in an organization. That is simply my professional interpretation of the interaction and not an accusation of misconduct by any individual.
Can I ask a few questions about this one? Let's step through this a little bit. Actually, I got a question, Ms. Hoskins. Is it improper in an interview to note someone is overqualified?
No, I don't think that's improper.
Okay. And then the rest of this is his concern that the members might have a conflict of interest. Is there any conflict of interest actually alleged here?
He doesn't know the people that he would say that.
Is it unusual that people interviewing a candidate for the airport manager position would be knowledgeable and affiliated with the airport?
That's not what he said. He said he explained a
He says
concern about
here,
a conflict of interest.
several members appear to have direct connections to airport operations or interests related to the facility.
I don't know, given the dire straits that the airport is in, I think that it's going to require not just somebody who's familiar with the airport, but who has the tools and the experience necessary to get this out of the red and out of such a financial burden for the taxpayers of this town.
That's got nothing to do with the question I'm asking, though. Mr. Quick has read a passage here that a candidate is implying that our interviewers, which are solid citizens of the city of Tullahoma who volunteered at free pay to do this, that they were acting improperly and even being involved in the interview.
They were prepaid?
Mayor,
Not paid.
That's what you said.
if I could, I just want
Ms.
to,
Hoskins.
it's my job to advise you
Yes.
about risks. And we're sitting here right now, reading an email verbatim into our record from a candidate that applied for the position who's now saying things about the interviewers. As I've told the board, TAA is its own entity and it is its own corporation once created pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated. And they can sue. We are in a binding contract with them. That contract tells us, basically, in a nutshell, in layman's terms, the ball is in their court until they give us a written recommendation. Again, they have not done that. So right now, we're tearing their process apart, going through, we've got a statement here from a candidate that they didn't pick, and we're reading it out loud into our record. And I think you're exposing the city to potential litigation risk because we're not adhering to the agreement that we've entered into with the airport that says they get to handle this process until they make a written recommendation to our city. So all of this debate is okay about candidate qualifications and who we would like or who we wouldn't like, who we want to pick, once they make a recommendation to us. But they have not done that. And as we sit here right now debating this, they have not done that. It is not our turn yet to debate about the candidate. And I have had conversations with their attorney about this. That is his position. I can tell you that. And so it does give me concern that we are having a full-on debate because a citizen came up here and made some comments about Mr. Quick that we have to go through a detailed 53-page or 52-page report about how he was right to do what he did when it's a violation of the agreement between us and the airport.
Well, I'm sorry that this is an uncomfortable subject for some, but the taxpayers of this town expect transparency. And I, for one, think that this is the place that things need to be discussed.
I agree with you, Ms. Wilson, when it's our turn. But until we receive a written recommendation from the TAA, we are without authority to tell them who their candidate should or should not be, or to pick apart their interview process, especially when we were not a part of that. That is what you're doing, Mr. Quick, and it does expose us to litigation.
I am
potential
sharing
litigation
the
risk, and it is
information that
my
the
job to
board
advise
has
the board of
asked.
that.
Mr. Quick, continue.
Thank you. So, I'm going to look here and try to pick out things where nobody's going to have a problem with it, but I don't know if that's possible. Any questions about the candidate that the TAA board selected?
No. Hasn't come to us yet.
They have, again, for clarity, they voted on a candidate. They still have to, pursuant to the agreement, they still have to make a written recommendation. Presumptively, because they were notified that he wasn't going to be approved, they have elected not to make a written recommendation to us yet. So it is not our turn yet to be debating candidates. I think all of this argument is fine when it is our turn, and it is important. But we're violating this agreement right now because we agreed to this process when we entered into this agreement, and we're not following it.
Well, I guess the thing that gives me pause is that right now we are paying a lot of money for an interim airport manager. And if they clearly have, and it looks like that they have selected a candidate, they need to put it forward. They need to put that person forward and get on with it. You know, why are we dragging this out, or why is this being drug out for so long?
Well, Ms. Wilson, they were told he wasn't going to be approved, and they do have the authority to vote again on who they want to recommend and recommend someone different if they want to do that. And we're skipping them in going ahead and debating the candidates that they've already interviewed by saying this one's right or this one's wrong or this one doesn't meet qualifications and this one does. They can re-vote again on whoever they want to recommend, but then we have to receive a written recommendation from them. And then we get, once it's approved, the board can debate about whether or not that candidate should be approved. That's why I think the contract was written the way it was, so that you guys do have the ultimate decision here. But we're not there yet. And we're skipping this process, which is a violation of the agreement, and they are a entity that can sue us.
I think it's been.
Mr. Quick.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So
I just have a because I only have this one page of the agreement, and not the entire agreement. So, what is the severability of this agreement between the airport and the city?
Either of the parties can terminate. I don't know what the
Because I'm not at all comfortable and with any candidate that may come to us for us to vote on that hasn't gone through some kind of process as stipulated by HR, and is stipulated in our HR manual, to where you have to put in an application, you have to be qualified, a job description. First of all, a job description has to be put out that has certain qualifications on it. Then people apply for the job. Somebody calls them out to see who was qualified based on the job description. Then interviews are scheduled. That is a legitimate process. That is recognized in the courts or whatever. And that is a HR process that you go through. Now, if I don't feel comfortable if any candidate comes to us and that it hasn't gone through some kind of process like that. So if we entered into an agreement to where we just left it open and let a third party just use any kind of process in bringing forward a candidate, I don't think that it's good for the city.
So the previous board apparently thought it was a good idea.
The previous board thinks a lot of things, but
Yeah.
I don't.
But the other thing is, why do you think that they have no process?
Well, from all the information we've gathered, they accepted somebody that didn't even put in an application for the job, that didn't even meet the minimum requirements that were advertised.
How do
So
you know
what
that
kind
they-
of process is that? It might be a
didn't-
process, but it's not a very good one.
I don't know that he didn't give an application. He just didn't give it to the city because they're not required to make the applications come to the city because the agreement says they don't have to do that.
all the
Okay,
other
then how do you get
applications
over
did
the
come to
fact
the
that
city.
he doesn't have anywhere close to the
So
qualifications?
now we're debating the candidate again. You don't have to like the candidate. I may not like the candidate.
Well, my question is, he
The
did.
point is, we're beating up the airport authority here
No,
for
I'm not-
attempting to do their job.
No, no one's beating up anybody. Now, if that's how you're taking it, I can't help that. I'm just laying out the facts. And the fact is, you had all these, if they can't follow the process for 30-something applicants to turn it in the way that they're supposed to with the city, and then you have one applicant that didn't, and that's the applicant you choose?
That's the kind of thing that gets you sued.
Either you follow, you got to do one process
They
or
did
the
not
other.
have 30 applicants that did it the way they were, quote, supposed to, because they are not required to follow that policy that you're talking about.
Then why did they follow that?
I don't know, but they're not
That's
required
that's
to.
what I say. They're not following a policy. They're not following it's haphazard and it needs to be structured. I mean, this kind of stuff they're doing. Well, you talk about getting sued or litigation, that will get you sued.
So is that your opinion?
Yes, it is.
So have you delivered that to the airport authority?
They can be listening right now.
May I,
So-
can
so
I interject? This is
just
good
a
here.
moment, just a moment. I'm going to just, people keep saying the airport authority ought to do X, the airport authority ought to do Y. They've got a phone number. I've been over and met with them. Matthew's been with them many times. All you got to do is go over and talk to them. If you got an opinion, you could go tell them that, instead of us having this kind of meeting where we're pouring through emails and reading things out that implicate things without saying it.
Well, without going through the emails, I think we need to have attorneys look at this agreement, and I think this agreement needs to be redone.
Well,
I think
and I want to know I want to get all the legal things about how this is set forward, because if you're hiring people and compensating them through the city of Tullahoma, but supposedly they work for a totally separate thing, there needs to be set in stone legal parameters that set all that up. I just want to make sure that they're all there. And I'm not saying that they're not, but I want to make sure that they are, because for years, this airport manager worked for the airport, and they got paid by the airport, and they didn't have any benefits. In 2011 or whatever, when this agreement was signed, they decided they could get better quality candidates if they could offer the city benefits, which is retirement, health insurance, and some very high dollar items. And so, That is why they entered into this agreement. But when we did that, then that makes them a quasi-city employee. So are they a city employee or are they an airport employee? The other night, Ms. Hoskins said that the fuel spill was caused by a city employee, but it was an airport employee. So, I mean, you can't have it one way or the other. You have to, that's why we need to make sure this agreement protects it. I'm not doing this to be mean or to be contrary or anything else. I want what's going to be protect the city of Tullahoma to the best standard that we can and protect the airport authority. I think it's a good thing that we have this agreement, that we move forward, that the airport employees could get city benefits, but it needs to be done so in a manner that is spelled out to where we all know when they're a city employee or when they're an airport employee.
Ms. Hoskins, can you comment on whether the contract specifies those things?
Well, I would say it's a city employee. I'm not changing what I said before. It was a
Well,
city
if it's a city
employee. He works
employee, it
for the
needs to go
airport.
through the city process.
No, he works for the airport. That employee has to go through the city process. You're absolutely right. The airport manager, pursuant to this contract, does not. There's a difference in, somebody who's just hired to work at the airport and the person who is running, the airport manager who is in charge of the airport.
Who
So-
does the
and that's
person
spelled out.
answer to? He answers to the airport man. So
That's
you
right.
that's what I'm saying. You're getting into a whole conflated reporting. This is just set up
This
for.
agreement could be renegotiated
It
if
needs
that's
to be.
what you're
Yeah,
wanting to
that's
say.
what
If
I.
that's
That's what I. That's
Yeah,
all. That's
this
the
can
point
be
I'm making.
renegotiated. But to answer that question that you had, or that point that you brought up, the airport manager is subject to different things because we entered into a binding contract with the airport agreeing to that. The other employees that they hire are subject to our regular, just as this says, recruitment and selection process will follow the policies outlined in the city's personnel regulations for recruitment and employment, with the exception of the manager. So the other employees, they do have to abide by our policies.
Well, that's
But the
a
manager does not.
terrible agreement. So you have city employees that are answering to somebody that is not a city employee.
Yeah, that's why you all have a
You know,
say
that-
in
I mean,
picking the
okay,
manager.
I'll be quiet. I think enough said. I think the agreement needs to be looked at. And I think it needs to be something that will favor the city of Tullahoma, protect the city of Tullahoma, and favor the airport. I want it to be
So
good for
in
everybody,
terms
but
of-
I don't think this one is.
In terms of hiring the city manager, how's the city of Tullahoma not protected?
It's the
city
airport
manager.
manager.
I'm sorry, the airport manager.
Well, if it is in this case, and it appears to be in this agreement that says that, that they're going to recruit the airport manager.
Yeah.
Well, and it stipulates, and they could do it outside of all the city parameters that we use that are usually recognized in HR practices. Then, and they're going outside of and just doing whatever they want, then I think we, and if the airport gets sued, who's going to pay for it? We're going to pay for it. We, just like we paid for the fuel spill.
So there may be neat things we want to do along that line. But the other thing that's trying to do is protect somewhat the separation of the authority of the airport authority from the city by giving them the employee that manages the airport, and that person answers to them and not to us. So, and that's very common for these kind of small boards, airport authorities, industrial boards. Both the TADC board and the industrial board of Coffee County are set up to be employees of the county or employees of the city, but their manager answers directly to the board to provide some separation of authority and separation of powers. So I'm not opposed to having some changes, but I don't want to see the city try to run everything at the airport. I don't think that's appropriate.
I don't think we should
I
be
agree.
running everything at the airport
I agree.
at this juncture, but I think there ought to be generally accepted principles of HR or accounting or whatever that they ought to have to do. I don't think they could just select whatever processes they want to use. They have to be something that that meets some kind of standards. And from what I've seen, these don't meet any kind of standards.
I don't think that's quite correct, but.
So if you look at page 21, and we won't go through it, I contacted MTAS again. And for those of you not familiar with MTAS, they are sponsored by the University of Tennessee. They provide HR consulting services, IT consulting services, legal services, you name it, they do it. And they do it for every single city, municipality in the state of Tennessee. I asked John Grubbs, there was a concern that we had. We were, it was asked of our HR officer, maybe we should go back and redo the qualifications on the job description so it would kind of fit their candidate. I asked him what that would look like from a risk and exposure standpoint, and that's what you'll see on pages 21, 22, and 23. I won't read through it, but basically he stated that the city would be definitely looking at some major risks for age discrimination, process, you didn't follow your process. There was like 3 or 4 things I think that he put in there.
They didn't follow our process, but they're not required to. The comments about the age discrimination, all those are valid, but
Yeah, that's state and federal law. I mean,
Yeah.
there's things that go beyond the city.
But
So-
if you did favor a 21-year-old candidate, that does not mean that that was not the right choice as well.
Correct.
There's a discretion there.
Yeah, if they meet the basic
If they
job
meet
description.
if they meet the job description.
Well, but the airport's in charge of the job description, and companies.
They can't, once they publish the job description and recruit for it, they can't change it.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying companies, I mean, I don't know if we've ever hired a candidate that met the entire job description in my business, because it's awful hard to find those people, and occasionally you run across someone you think that's the right person, even if they don't totally meet the job description, and I think that there's discretion for that, so.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do.
Well, that's awful deep discretion.
I'm gonna go real fast through the rest of this because I know we're all ready to go home. Page 31, I've just shared with you concerns that were expressed to me, and I think others, that the TAA chairman was asking how would she go about dissolving the board herself, and that was back on January 2nd. Being frustrated, wanting to resign. You know, the rest of it you can read. If you have questions on why it's there, let me know.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why did you not print the other email she sent where she said she no longer felt that way?
I don't know if I got that one, did I?
Maybe you should ask next time. She has since stated clearly, I think she stated it publicly at least once, that she was frustrated when she wrote that email, and after the discussions that we've had and the meetings that we've had, the airport spill meeting that we had, she no longer feels that way.
Okay.
So I just want to make it very clear that does not express the current attitude of the airport authority chairman, that she does not believe the airport authority should be dissolved. And at that point, when they were having a lot of issues, they were just looking for options to see and understand the process.
Okay.
Mayor, if I could.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to tell the board again that we cannot dissolve the TAA. I don't know if that's even, the board is even still considering that, but.
We can through a private act.
There's state law no, you can't. There's state law that says when you create an airport authority under Chapter 3, which our airport is a Chapter 3 airport, when you create that under a Tennessee Code Annotated statute, it becomes its own separate entity and it is treated as a corporation. I sent the board my research on that, and maybe you can ask the FAA attorney his opinion, but it is treated as a separate corporation that cannot be dissolved by the board that created it. It is a corporation, and in fact, the only way that an airport can be dissolved, a Chapter 3 airport, is if it has no outstanding debt and no grants, which the case law says is almost never. It would have to be an airport that's not running or not operating in order for you to be able to do that. So our board does not have the authority to legally dissolve the
board
TAA.
doesn't.
It does not have the authority pursuant to state law, and if it
I
did
agree, our board
dissolve,
doesn't.
and if it did dissolve the TAA, we would certainly be subject to legal exposure at that point.
I think we're subject now. Page 45 on,
40?
you know what? If you want to know about 45, I hope you'll call me because it's very dangerous, and I need you to if you're a board member, if you'd like to know, I'll tell you more about that. But I do think it's something, and this is not breaking any kind of confidentiality. But you know, we keep hearing things are running better, things are going great over there, and I hope they are. There's nobody that wants that airport to succeed more than me. I just think that maybe we're all having a difference of opinion on what that looks like as far as how to get there. I think we all want to get there. But we had a $50,000 error that occurred earlier this month, where we had, my understanding is, we had the U.S. Army credit card. They came in, we went to put in the fuel. They got 100 gallons, but instead of putting in $5.07, I think we put in $507. And it wound up creating a $53,000 charge that was not caught until it got to our office on February 17th, to where we had to go back and explain. And I think the questions that we have, or the concerns we have, is, are there no internal controls that would keep that from happening? So if you want to know any more about the report, if you're a Board of Mayor and Alderman member, if you want to call me, if you have questions, you've got your copy, please let me know.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make something.
Yes, sir. Mr. Worsham.
In case you didn't hear me a little while ago, I didn't prepare this agreement. As a matter of fact, I was a member of the Airport Authority when this agreement was signed. It's prepared either by the city attorney at that time or by the attorney for the Airport Authority, whomever that might have been. The only reason why this ever arose is because at that time, the Airport Authority had some valued employees who had been there a long time that we thought were doing a very, very good job. And we felt that we were not financially capable of providing the protection that they need and the advantages they need that the city employees would have. So this agreement was entered into with the purpose of giving them that protection and the advantages of being a city employee. The purpose was not for the city to manage the airport. The manager selected by the Airport Authority was to do that. Only provide them with those benefits is why we did that. Things have changed. That was 15 years ago. A lot of things have changed since then. At that time, as you know, the airport was running very well. We had just, in the process, we just completed a very nice new terminal that a lot of people in this town contributed to in order to build that, and that's why we did that. Now we're picking apart an agreement. We've got this 53-page dissertation about it that I wasn't prepared to comment on, so I just got it tonight. Now, y'all are perhaps far more able to digest 53 pages of information quickly, but I haven't looked at it at all. We've just glanced at the little things that Mr. Quick's picked out. I want to point out to you again that the purpose of this was, again, just to provide benefits for the employees of the airport, not to micromanage it.
I want to make a closing statement, just that several small things. First of all, some of the issues that have occurred at the airport, I just want to point out, were discovered by members of the Airport Authority, and they have been working on fixing it ever since. Most of the things that have been identified, whether they be safety things, security things, are all things that, in my opinion, are completely fixable. I made this statement in the last meeting, that many of these things are just setting up proper checks and bounds, especially on safety issues, making sure that audits get reported out to the Airport Authority. We need to probably have some adjustments to training and things on the Airport Authority. But my experience is that most of the people at the airport value the airport, and they believe it can be made better, and they just want to sit down and talk about how to get that done. And that's what I want as well. We're going to put this committee together. I've got about half members selected, and I would like to be able to have that time to have meetings with all stakeholders to figure out a path forward, not just for the technical bureaucratic details we've discussed here tonight, but all the practical day-to-day things that we can ensure we have safety. Our airport is very valuable to the community, and if we get it right, we can turn it into something that might be able to pay for all these problems. But to do that requires us to respect the knowledge and the experience of the people at the airport that the city simply does not have. And that's my goal going forward, and I hope we can get past this kind of finger pointing that's been going on lately and get down to the table together and solve these problems together. And that's my statement.
I have a statement too. I don't think that any of us sitting up here want to micromanage anything. but there is a difference in micromanaging, which is like day-to-day operations, you know, and being physically responsible for, you know, things that can go wrong that's going to affect the city in a financial way. And so, yeah, I don't think that anyone sitting up here wants to micromanage anything. But again, there's a difference in that and in being good stewards of our the finances of the city. And we want to make smart decisions and hope that and oversee, you know, because like it or not, we are responsible for the backlash of things that happen at that airport. So it's us being good stewards to want to make sure that nothing bad happens, and I'm sure you agree.
Can I just make a
Mr.
statement, just from
McGee.
personal experience? About 2 weeks ago, I took my grandson on a Wednesday when he got out of school at 1 o'clock. I took him to the airport just to tour the airport, and then we later went to Beechcraft. But as soon as I walked in the door, I could just tell their demeanor changed. It was, you know, like they had seen a ghost. And the young lady who came out to give us the tour, she began telling me, you know, we're working on this, we're working on that. I said, look, I'm not out here as Alderman McGee. I'm just out here touring with my grandson. So I think somewhere the relationship between us and them, it's been scarred, and we really just need to heal that wound.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, I do. I agree with Cernovia. We do need to heal that wound, and I've certainly, by anything I've said, don't mean to make the relationship worse. I want to make the relationship better, and I don't think that asking to try to help manage something is micromanaging it. I mean, we're just not saying on the day-to-day, but I think we need to offer some management perspective as far as an overall thing as having standards to which you recruit and hire by, or accounting standards or something like that. That is very important, and that's what we do provide as an overview as a board. And I've heard it said many times in all these conversations that we're not on this board or we're not experts on running an airport. And I agree. I'm not an expert on running an airport. Probably no one, I won't speak for everybody, but probably no one on this board is. But we were elected by the citizens to manage the city. And I don't think any of us were experts on managing a police department or managing a fire department or a public works department or any city department. But we are in charge with looking over it and making our best decisions going forward on what to do with it. So I think that's where we need to get. And I would love to sit down with the members of the airport authority and work together, maybe through a study session and setting the stage as we move forward to what we're going to do to rectify this situation and make it a good situation for everybody. I think maybe one of the first steps is looking at the agreement we have. Let's and maybe we stay with the same agreement, maybe we don't. But as Mr. Worsham said, that agreement was reached in 2011. It's been a long time. Laws change, situations change, and a lot of things have changed since then. So I think it may be something that we need to relook at again. And that might be the first step forward into our new relationship and making a prosperous airport that's going to help Tullahoma be prosperous.
Anything else?
Just one more thing, and then I'm done. Clearly, Administrator Quick put in a lot of time in putting this report together, and I just wanted to acknowledge the effort that he put in getting this report together.
We are now
Thank you.
35 minutes past our by the rules,
Our
stop
drop dead
time.
time.
Yeah, so that will adjourn. Oh, I got a bunch of stuff.